to gather enough points to come into the promotion matches. And we'll see how that works out for them. The only, so we have actually Sassen and Nuclear from Cubic now on Prime, kicking things off for them here in the promotion matches. Vivid for support will be stepping out for now in place of Secret. Now let's go into the picks and bans. Kicking things right off, of course, I mean, we don't have any KDA records or MVP awards to keep track of during promotion matches. The bans are going down pretty straightforward. LeBlanc and Zed both being banned, not as common, but you know, when you have mid laners that really rely more on their individual skill, you'll see that a lot more often. Or, you know, if you're playing against Faker, you might ban LeBlanc. The Gragas ban, and then followed by the Rek'Sai ban. Pretty expected by this point. If one team decides to ban one of the junglers, it kind of telegraphs that they want to prioritize that jungle pick. So then you say, hey, well, most players would agree that there's two very top junglers, Gragas and Rek'Sai. So we'll respond with a ban. The Cassiopeia being banned out, but no Azir. So Ace is going to be able to pick up the Azir right away as first pick. I mean, especially after the Kalista ban. Urgot not as prioritized by some teams anymore. So, and in general, kind of just being phased out depending on the meta and the opponent picks. So Azir going to be picked up right away. I mean, you have LeBlanc and Zed both gone, and then there's Cassiopeia banned out. So why not? With both Gragas and Rek'Sai banned out, Sejuani is probably next up for most junglers. Yesterday we did see the return of Lee Sin. Sin having a really good game on Lee Sin. And then Thresh, still the go-to support for almost any team composition. It's impressive how long he's lasting in that role. Now we will have Samsung with their next two picks. You know, so for AD carry, I mean, okay, so a lot of teams still preferring Sivir over a lot of the other picks, and it makes sense for a number of reasons, but we're starting to, I believe we had this happen at Season 3 Worlds, where Sivir was prioritized in theory by many teams, but didn't prove the highest win rate. Porky might have also been in that boat. And so we're seeing certain times where we don't have necessarily the exact correlation from theory to gameplay, but Maokai being picked up is, of course, really solid. We saw the power of Maokai at MSI. Of course, this is on 5.8, but no big changes for Maokai, so, you know, just Maokai kind of the Thresh of the top lane, the Lee Sin of the top lane, where in any meta, you're still going to hold your own. You can still do a lot, especially with teleport still being valid. You're just going to have a big impact come mid-game as long as you didn't get absolutely shut down. Meanwhile, looks like Prime going to go for the double AD. No, they're not. Yeah, it would be a little early. I mean, sure, with Maokai, you're going to want to avoid double AP, but double AD right away may not always have been the best point. And they're going to wait for their mid lane pick. Despite Azir being first pick, they want to still wait to see the rest of the picks before going ahead and picking a mid laner for Prime. And then Nunu being picked up as a jungler, yeah, after Sejuani. If you play Nunu, why not? You can have a big impact. We saw that happen at MSI also. Both Bengi and Clearlove liking that Nunu in the jungle. We saw Janna coming back here and there by many teams, and yesterday we saw Janna being picked up too in Group A of the promotion matches. And I mean, Janna's actually pretty fine against especially the likes of Noir and Sejuani. Of course, the best Sejuani players will not really be deterred by any displacement because you'll be able to angle your ult ahead of time, and your ult does have a decent range. But Noir is going to need to come right in, so that'll be good on top of the spell shield. So this is, I mean, Samsung has a pretty, oh wow, quick pick on that Cassidy. Looks like they were pretty much just waiting on. Oh man, we got two cheerleaders leading the squad for Prime. Of course, again, I mean, all three of these organizations have their kind of fan bases, no matter how big or how small, because they've been around the esports scene for a while. All three of them have been involved in League of Legends for some time now. Prime having joined the scene the latest, but still they've been here and there. And of course, Prime, well known for many players in other titles, including the likes of Marine King, the legend, who will actually play League of Legends for a little while. But today, it's going to be a new lineup for Prime, and Samsung still, I think it's fair to call them still kind of a rookie lineup. I mean, they've only gone through one season, which, yeah, sure, you can say that they learned a lot, and I'm sure they did, but the experience from one season is not that huge when compared to, you know, going against another professional team who has rookies, but coaches who have been involved with the team for some time now. Lane swap coming in from Samsung Galaxy. I think that's fair because Lucian Thresh, pretty strong lane matchup. In general, one of the more favored duos in bottom lane. And Sivir and Janna, I mean, yeah, you can survive, but if all you're doing is fighting to survive, it's not the greatest thing. Well, QV starting with that red. And then Sejuani starting with her own red, so if Eve was planning on, yep, he was planning on going right over, but catch is going to prevent that pretty well. So this is actually going to delay Eve a decent amount from his own jungle, because he can't like go ahead and steal blue either. Well, it's going to take some time. I mean, he can, I guess, attempt it, but then the bottom lane of Prime is already in that bot lane. So Eve basically has to give up on all that, go back, get his own blue, and just kind of play it passive for a little bit. So the worst thing here for Samsung is that Eve as Nunu is basically missing out on like the biggest advantage that Nunu can potentially get to change the game, which is a buff steal and a massive level advantage. Meanwhile, Catch at the same time, you know, being able to actually get ahead in terms of farming and leveling is pretty great against a Nunu, because you're gonna have better ganks, you know, come later levels anyway. And oh, we have Gnar and Sejuani coming down bot. It is going to get spotted by that sampling. If QV stays, though, even with Janna showing up, this could be dangerous. I mean, there is a lot of CC on the side of Prime. They're still going for it. They separate Janna right away, and actually they're going to go onto Janna first, the hook onto Wraith. Nice play by Prime. That avoids the tower damage, too. Wraith getting separated at the very last minute. There wasn't really much he could do. Could have tried to flash, but you knew you were going to die anyway, so I think just saving that summoner and flashing could have actually put QV more in danger, but he's still in danger now. 4 people still here. Secret going to start the tower aggro on himself with the Lantern Shield right there. Eve showing up. Secret is going to get off tower just in time. Catch gets the kill, and oh, Eve flashes forward to try to chase the kill down. He does eventually. Oh, no, he doesn't actually get the hit, so it's the execution coming in. That's pretty sad for Samsung. So Prime gets all the advantages they were looking for. Kicking things off with a 1K lead at 4 minutes. No kills for Eve. That's the part that hurts. I thought he got a snowball off right before he flashed, but it looks like he was flashing forward to chase after Secret's own flash. Didn't actually get it off before the tower hit connected. So what are the advantages that Samsung have? Nothing really. Sure, Fury 6 CS ahead. Congratulations, but it's not going to matter too much for now. And Prime actually has a lot to work with here. Now Prime, with their former lineup, they had that episode where they brought T1S down with them when both K and S were in the same group, Group A, last year. That shut down S's hopes of getting any points to try to go to Worlds. And Prime, they had a really great strategy of, you know, pretty much just 4-manning and then continuing. They pretty much replicated that right now, 4-manning, diving, getting 2 kills. They didn't push down to the second turret this time around, but I remember that game with the Jax top lane. They just shoved in the lane so hard, and that was when Marn was still kind of stuck on playing champions like Renekton. I mean, Renekton was popular overall, but because of how Renekton is played in general, Marn was also kind of torn on how to build Renekton and how to play him, I think, because, you know, you can try to play Renekton as a carry top laner, and it just didn't work out for T1S, and Prime just shut them down in that group match. We'll see if they can do the same for Samsung here. The lanes are still remaining as swapped, which means Prime still also has a decent advantage. What this really does is it actually, yeah, actually now that I think about it, Samsung's losing out on a lot more than I even mentioned, because the other advantage of Nunu is that you can solo dragon early. Now, Not only did he not get the invade and the steal, so his leveling wasn't that far ahead. In fact, he's behind now. But on top of that, because of the lane swap, his bottom lane duo is not there. So in the case of an emergency, they can't come help. So Eve, you can tell he has no concern for attempting a solo dragon, which is another big advantage that Nunu can get to change the entire game in the first 10 minutes for your team. So, I mean, Samsung's responding well with what they have been given, though. And Catch also doing really well, just sticking with Soul. Soul is going to turn into Mega Gnar soon, so they'll be able to survive a little bit. Actually, Soul needs to calm down on his meter there, because if he turns into Mega Gnar when there's no wave, he's going to waste a lot of time from... He transforms just now, be able to clean that up. But, yeah, now there's no wave for him to deal with as Mega Gnar, so... it's a little bit of efficiency loss in terms of staying tanky, but Nunu did leave the top lane for a little while, so Mininar will be okay on his own. He still has a health pot too. And Catch, I would think, is going to go back to his red. Just check that out. And Assassin, meanwhile, taking advantage of a nice trade against Ace at level 6. But yeah, the poke still going to be annoying. Now, Secret is here, looking for a gank. He's going to go all the way around. No, looks like he's going to go in for a deep ward. Meanwhile, Eve now trying to make up for that steal earlier. Catch can't try to just go for a smite fight. Well, I guess he doesn't want to give up, though. Gnar could be coming back down. No, but we're going to see the red buff go to Eve. So Eve makes up for it from the level 1. He does get the red. Catch is simply just delayed a little bit. He hasn't lost out on everything just yet. We'll see if he can get the enemy red. But this also translates into the top lane tower. Samsung reacting really accurately right there. And Ace looks like he's going to get 2v1, 3v1. Assassin picks up the kill. Catch actually not getting that assist, so eventually it just ended with that 2v1. But well played by Prime. Can they make this a dragon? And they are going to start it. Lucian coming up. Cassin does have to go back. Everyone at the top lane of Samsung after taking that tower is going to go back home, but they won't get here in time. So Prime actually continuing to stay ahead pretty well. It's like, all right, well, we lost the tower, but we got a kill in mid lane, got the ball rolling for Cassidy, got the first dragon, which is going to continue to help Cassidy with that damage buff. And I think Prime, if they keep this up, could very well just slowly and steadily win this game. Not too slowly, though, with that Azir, Nunu, and Sivir on the other side. And Maokai, too. Blue going over to Assassin. Eve making sure he secures his red. All the wards there are going to allow Prime to know that Eve did his red. They'll have a timer on it. Sejuani doesn't need the red. I mean, the damage always helps. But your biggest trait is, of course, your CC when you gank. And you have decent skill damage to begin with as a jungler. So what this really means is simply thanks to Eve not getting the steal early, Catch is like, all right, well, we're back to square one. I can just play fair, but I technically have stronger ganks, so we'll see what Catch makes of that. Hasn't had to use his ultimate just yet. Fury, meanwhile, getting... Oh, Wraith getting targeted by that hook. Secret playing pretty decently in terms of his targeting. He seems to be adapting really well. But it's not really leading into anything after that level 2, level 3 dive and bottom. Blue being handed over to Ace. With 3 kills, thanks to the tower though, only 1.5k ahead for Prime, which is a decent amount for 10 minutes, but not as much as you'd imagine with 3 kills and 1 dragon. The top laners are back in their spot, and I think both of them are okay with that. Of course, Soul lost his tower though, so that's going to be a little bit of a factor that he's going to have to deal with, especially with Eve showing up in top lane. Soul sees it coming, he hops away, and that's going to give him just enough distance. Ace and Assassin trading a lot as Catch shows up in mid lane. Flash is still up for Ace, he used his heal earlier. So Catch, I don't know if he really wants to risk wasting his ult on that. I mean, yeah, you can blow their flash, but if you're going to do that, you might as well try to go for an ulted bottom lane now that it is a 2v2. Even with the spell shield, you can still, you're pretty much guaranteed to kill Janna if Sejuani shows up bottom lane without being seen by a ward, which I guess is pretty hard given the warding from Samsung. Both top laners are just doing completely fine. Soul's slightly ahead because of the assist and the CS, but Maokai should be all right. Going towards that Righteous Glory. Meanwhile, Catch still a bit ahead in terms of what he's got, thanks to 2 kills. So Catch getting the 2 early kills, helping him a lot in basically not falling behind Nunu. But now he needs to really translate that into ganks, because if he doesn't, it's like, what was the point of staying even / ahead of Nunu if you're not going to be able to gank? That's like the one thing that any jungler should be able to do better than Nunu. Well, okay, not any jungler, but, you know, this top pick junglers like Gragas, Sejuani, and Rek'Sai, is that you have hard CC, and Nunu does not. We'll see. I mean, Catch has been looking for an angle, but I feel like he's been looking at the wrong windows for a little bit here. I think maybe just focusing more on clearing vision in bottom lane and then coming back soon after. Because Fury and Wraith are playing really just safe, and they've actually been whittling Nuclear down several times enough that even with those 2 assists, Fury's able to just do fine in lane, evening out in terms of items for now. Top lane is still just going to be a bank of the a battle of the tanks, not a bank of the tattles. A battle of the tanks is what I wanted to say. I can't start now. Hold your ground, Chobra. You still got at least 5 more games after this. Uh-oh. Oh, the ult's not going to hit. Gets the slow, though, flashing right next to the wall, and Catch goes in for the knockup. And Ace does get the ignite on him. Can Assassin get one more hit? He does get him with the Q, and he's going to be able to back out. Well played by Prime. Really good gank. I mean, that's the thing. When it's Azir versus Kassadin, sure, Emperor's Divide is going to push you back, but you can have an infinite chase unless you were like even and or ahead in health. And of course, with Sejuani showing up, Ace had no way of really escaping from that gank. Catch showing up at the right time. It's really good that he tagged him at least with the slow, despite the flash and the Emperor's Divide. Because without the slow, I think actually Ace might have been able to get some distance and not get hit by the charge coming in from Sejuani. So now 2 kills for Kassadin. He's got that ROA, the Rod of Ages. And, I mean, how are you going to shut him down now, right? Your biggest bet is Maokai getting big enough that he has no fear, jumps in, and keeps him locked down while Sivir and Azir, or just Azir himself, bursts him down instantly. But he's going to have his ROA. He'll get his Zonias at some point in the game. You're going to need a lot more than that. And while you're trying to spend all this time killing Kassadin, Lucian will wreck you. Gnar and Sejuani will come in with their ults. So Samsung already has a lot of worries. Oh, Sand Soldiers. You silly guys. All that air being sliced up. So Samsung is just blatantly playing from behind a little bit. The global gold is not as devastating right now because they're staying really even in CS, but that next dragon is up, and that'll also be a big contention point. If Nunu can sneak that out with their bottom lane, then Samsung actually, just the fact that you can do that means that you're probably having better map management, even with a Nunu, just given that you're behind. Oh, Secret showing up. A lot of intimidation factors, but 4 members of Samsung in mid, so he's not going to jump in. But if he can't do that and Prime quietly and safely just gets a second dragon, then it's not long before they get a third one too. The Death Sentence narrowly missing, and all that really does is give Prime time to regroup here and defend that mid lane turret. Azir has been whittling it down by quite a bit. And if Prime can hold on to that mid lane turret until they get this second dragon, then it's going to be really good, especially with Samsung losing out on a lot of experience in CS right now on bottom. Lucian, I think this is really good of Prime to just separate, have Lucian push that bottom lane, because Lucian being here, you might even still lose it. So Prime, if they can push up and make Fury waste an entire wave at bottom, which is going to happen just now, Samsung, this is only worth it if they can get the tower here, and they're not going to. Soul also showing up. This is really well done by Prime, because now their time in mid had no effect in them getting into the game. So now if you get that tier 1 in mid, like, whoop-de-doo, it's like a consolation prize at this point. Wow, they still didn't get it. Prime actually, and wow, Sejuani still gets the second dragon. I thought Sejuani might also back off too, because then Prime would have actually made a mistake. Very well done by Prime here. Kassadin being able to clear just enough, and the threat of a death sentence from Secret, denying Samsung even the consolation prize, and all they got was a shove up top, which Soul is going to pick up all this delicious, delicious XP and gold. Prime now 2K ahead. The gold lead is still pretty slow here for Prime, but they have 2 stacks of dragons. They've only lost 1 tower. I mean, this mid lane, it's a matter of time before it goes down, but not if Prime keeps putting down forces here as a threat against Ace in the mid lane. Because Samsung is so scared of giving more kills to Assassin. Assassin goes in, gets knocked up by the Empress Divide and the Howling Gale. There comes the ultimate from Catch on Sejuani, and the death sentence onto Ace as Soul shows up. They eventually take down Assassin. Ace is still alive. The Ignite on him. Will he go down to the ticks? He survives. He still puts out damage as QV comes in and cleans up Soul. 2 kills for Samsung. They will take the tier 1 in mid. Will they continue to shove up? Nuclear is going to come down mid lane. And you do have the turret coming up from Azir right behind them, so they don't get chased all the way down mid lane. And they're not going to get the tier 2, but they get decent damage on it. And we have a pause. It's all right. We didn't have any pauses yesterday, so now Doa can sit at home laughing and be like, this is what I had to deal with for you, Chobra. Well, you know what, Doa? I'm totally cool with pauses. This is my time to remember the faces of each of the new players, because the names and faces aren't exactly lined up in my memory just yet. Meanwhile, we have Samsung. All these players we've seen for a while. Fury right there. And Ace. Well, Samsung, I mean, they put up a good fight right there in mid. No reports exactly on what the pause was about. It looks like maybe there was a slight connection error for Nuclear as he reconnects into the game. Or probably, you know, some gear error or something just right there. Yeah, Wraith. So this is a fan of Wraith saying, you know, we believe in you and your determination. Staying in League of Legends for 4 years. I mean, yeah, he's been playing since 2012 on PSW Ares. Now, League of Legends has been out for, what, 6 years now? I think if you count the beta phase. I don't know the exact month and date. And I started playing, I've been playing for 5 years now. Most people have been playing for 5 to 6 years if you're like a first generation player, professional player, or even just a casual user. But then you have Wraith, who he only really started shining once he joined T1K. I mean, he had a splash on Jin Air, and some people recognized him and were happy when he got picked up by T1K, but that didn't last too long for a multitude of reasons, and now he's on this new Samsung team. And it looks like we are back in game. All players just testing. They're checking if Nuclear is cool with everything. Or, I don't think that was Nuclear, actually. But now, will Prime also get the gold from this turret? Nope. Goes down. Anyway, so Samsung basically, they clawed back into the game. But Prime still has the slight lead. They still have the 2 dragon stacks, which is really more insurance at this point until they get the 3rd one. Because if you can get 3 stacks ahead, that means a lot. But if you're just 2 stacks ahead and the other team is starting to make a comeback, then all the 2 stacks really mean is, hey, we have some more breathing room for mistakes. So Prime really doesn't want to rely on that. They just want to continue playing and trying to get the lead. You want to play basically as if you're even when you only have 2 dragon stacks ahead, because that's the only way you're going to extend that lead. If you play too safe or play too scared off of that, then all it will do is extend time until they catch up. Looking at CS, Nuclear has actually been farming really well, and a lot of that is due to that big wave that he pushed up and made Fury miss out on in that bottom lane while they were contesting mid tower and dragon. So we're not seeing the extent of that show up in their itemization just yet. Of course, Fury making up a little bit of it with a kill. We do have Eve here at the bottom lane, but Sejuani's on her way down bot. Catch coming up. Nuclear actually just going to dodge away from those Ricochet blades though, so Eve also gonna back off. Not as action-packed as our first game yesterday, where we had that crazy level 1, level 2 fight in bottom. But I'm pretty impressed by how Prime's been doing. Granted, Samsung was the weakest team in Champions Spring, but still. Top lane, how exciting. You know, we always seem to come back to this in League of Legends. First, you know, we have sparks now and then where we're like, oh man, look at this matchup in top. Look at what they're doing, so crazy, but we've come to a point where anytime we look up in the actual physical top lane and it's just the two of them, it's really uneventful. It's only eventful when they have crazy teleports, and that leads to bigger plays either in lane or in team fights. But of course, all of that matters a lot though, you know, how they manage their health, and they are going to actually go for a Baron. You do see the pings all coming in from Prime though. Even with Nunu, this seems like a big risk. Do they have any extra wards from Prime? We're going to see Mega Gnar come up pretty soon, too. Soul trying to build up that rage. The Baron's going down so low, though. Can Eve just finish it? Eve does get the Baron. The fight begins. Soul gets caught right in the middle of everything. And Samsung Galaxy going to take the Baron. They'll try to chase down Zazen. Zazen not going to go down. But Prime a little too late to that Baron. And no wards were able to come down over the wall from Zazen either, since he took the lens as his trinket. So Samsung, knowing what they had to do to climb back into the game, and they are totally in the game. 1 minute and 20 seconds until Dragon 2. So with this Baron buff, they should be able to shove up the lanes fast enough. All they really need to do is take down bottom tier 1, which if they just send one more person down with Fury, they should be able to take it with the Baron buff, and then they can take the Dragon, and they'll catch up and actually be ahead at that point in terms of the game. So, Samsung proving that they did learn a lot from their season in Champions Spring 2015. You know, compared to these other teams climbing back in from the Challenger Series, they're trying to show that at least, basically, they know how to come back into the game. They know how to play as a team to fight back for the win. And at this point, all the big advantages that Prime might have gotten earlier are more or less nullified. Cassin is, I guess he's 3-1. That's fine. Shutting him down, killing him once, though, means a lot, right? It basically slows him down so that you have a chance of killing him again. Azir has also been farming just fine despite the earlier deaths, so it's a matter of time before Ace can, like, one-shot almost anyone on the Prime team. Sejuani and Gnar can get tanky, but Azir can get really scary. Alright, well, Samsung, they took down that bottom turret earlier, so Dragon is up. Looks like they want to pressure the tier 2 also while they have Baron. I like this idea. They already whittled it down to half health. They are just going to be able to take it no problem, and Prime doesn't have an answer for that. It was a 4v5 anyway in this mid lane, so after taking that tier 2, will Samsung go directly for that Dragon? There is a lot of vision, so they could just try to have some vision wars and then pick off someone from Prime, but I think they can just burst this down really quickly with Azir, Nunu, and Sivir. Yeah. Prime has no interest in trying to contest that. They couldn't anyway. So now they have their own Dragon stack. They took down 2 towers in mid, all the tier 1s. They have the Baron buff still for a couple more seconds, so they're trying to make the best out of their Baron buff. I really like this from Samsung, not wasting any time with this buff, not going back home to buy just after getting the Dragon. You know you have a couple seconds left. Try to bring this turret down to at least half health or more, depending on how the game goes. Soul right now has teleport, so he's staying in top lane, trying to pressure down the tier 1 in top against Samsung. And because of that, with Maokai also being up there, we do have Samsung eventually backing off. Baron buff running out too. And that's fine. It's not like they lost out on anything because they stayed and pressured the bottom lane. So Samsung goes back. QV does have his Frozen Heart on top of Righteous Glory, so he's fine against Lucian and Gnar too. You have 2 core items for Ace. Nunu, not the tankiest. Sure, he got a slight nerf on his health per level, but he's still going to be pretty beefy. On the flip side, Nuclear also has to make sure that he continues going really well alongside Sasin. At this point in the game, you need Lucian to be able to dish out just as much, if not more damage. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on that because QV, Eve can both shut him down pretty well. Ace can burst him down no matter how big he gets. So Nuclear has a lot of burden on his shoulders. So does Sasin, though. I mean, he can't stop here. He's pretty behind in CS, which means his kill advantage is not translating into that much of an item advantage anymore. And that means Ace can basically more safely burst down someone from the enemy team because he can do it from a distance. Assassin can, in some ways, create, I guess, more chaos by going in once he gets his Zonias eventually in the game. But Ace has Emperor's Divide, too, so I don't think that's really something you can give as an advantage to Sasin on Cassidy. And Nuclear is not, like, super fed either. He only has 2 assists. He's farmed well. I mean, 10 per minute. That's great, but it's not like that was with a sacrifice from the other team. I mean, Sivir is a little bit behind, but has 1 kill, 2 assists, and has Nunu there for the attack speed buff. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can last even 5 games today, guys. My tongue's getting tied up in game 1. We'll have to see. Yeah, Maokai in the top lane. Yeah, he's going to want a little bit more to beef up, but I think he's fine where he is now. Gnar on the flip side hasn't finished any one item, and that's okay when he's Mega Gnar. I mean, this health, all the raw stats help a lot when you're Mega Gnar because you also have your own little boost. But when he's Mini Gnar, you're going to feel it a lot. So a lot on Soul to manage his rage really efficiently too. Baron coming up in 120. Samsung has a timer on that. I don't think they really need to rush it anymore at this point. Last time they had to sneak it in because they were behind. At this point, they actually have the advantage to try to bait Prime into walking in their blind. So they just have to win the Vision Wars, and they're going to whittle this one down. Fury spell shoots that Death Sentence, is able to get a couple free hits on this tier 2. Not a big minion wave though, so they'll back off. Good clear coming in with the static shift from Nuclear. Yeah, but Samsung is roaming all around the enemy jungle Secret. I mean, that's just from 1 attack from Ace and his Sand Soldiers. So Secret really needs to watch out. So does Nuclear. They're not going to last from this Azir anymore. So, I mean, look at it's a little overwarded by Samsung. I mean, partly because they're trying to cover every single corner, and a lot of it was kind of temporary, right? It's as they're passing by, they're trying to clear vision. And it's working out well. They haven't gotten even deeper wards just yet, but that's fine. As long as they have wards up to this point, up to pretty much the red buff, then Prime has no vision of the Baron. So Samsung can still try to make plays, or at least make Prime curious enough to make mistakes. And Samsung not going to get a perfect flank here just yet. QB shows up though, and that kind of scares all of Prime to back off. That Maokai. Will we see some Koro 1 level Maokai here with really confident initiates from the back? I mean, Azir, look at how much damage he's doing to Sejuani too. Sure, Sejuani is pretty armor-based right now, but look at this. With Azir and Maokai zoning out the members of Prime, we have Sivir and Nunu kicking off that Baron. They can do it pretty quickly, but Eve is taking a lot of damage, so they need to watch out. QB gets caught, but never mind. Maybe he's the one catching Prime. A good Empress Divide, shoving them back and putting down a lot of damage. Stole pretty low, but Ace is also low. The Janna heal working out really well from that Monsoon. Fury was full health and out of the fight, though. So if Fury was there to dish out damage, they would have actually cleaned up Prime. They weren't able to, but 3 members of Prime near death, so they're going to go home. And that is going to give a free Baron to Samsung. So good on them to disengage. You know, good on QV as soon as he saw Prime approaching, just kind of stopping them in that entrance, or the exit from the jungle rather. Nice Emperor's Divide. You didn't need to commit 100% to that fight from Samsung with Fury not being there for damage. Watch this, QV actually goes in first. Yeah, he just wants to stop them. And Ace gets caught, so he takes a lot of damage, but a nice Emperor's Divide pushes back too. Brings Secret and Assassin down to death level. Ace has to back off once again. The Sejuani ult not freezing anyone. The Monsoon healing them. And this whole time, Fury's on the right side, waiting if he can catch any stragglers, so Prime has to just back off quietly. Meanwhile, we have a Dragon going off. Can Eve get the steal? He's got to get it with the smite. He gets pushed back, but he still gets the steal. Catch has to take the Lantern now. Can all of Prime run away? Casson, of course, can hop away as all he wishes, but Secret will get left behind as the sacrifice to Samsung Galaxy as they go in. And with this Baron buff, Samsung is going to shove this tier 2 and Nuno threatening from behind. He's going to take some damage, but that's totally cool because tier 2 is going to get bursted down by Samsung Galaxy, leading 5 towers to 2 and 3K gold now for Samsung. Yeah, now, I mean, Prime is distinctly behind on all aspects, pretty much. And with the Baron buff and the Azir, I think Samsung should be able to take this inhibitor turret no problem. Maokai also there alongside Nunu. Absolute Zero not available, but that's fine. You're not looking to fight, you're just looking to tank in the case of a fight at this point in the game where you're pushing with Baron buff. And yeah, Soul has been whittled down a lot. So is Sasin. Yeah, Prime can't defend this right now because, I mean, look at their comp. Who's gonna deal with this? Who's gonna deal with the siege? I mean, I guess Lucian. That's the only one though. Even Gnar not gonna work out, and Secret gets caught as he tries to hook Fury. Spell Shield is gonna save from the death sentence. A nice double kill for Fury as he charges forward with his team. Good reaction from QV too to jump right onto that. And because of that, I mean, Sasin basically has no space to work with here, and Samsung just gonna push for the win. Nice kill by Fury in Fountain against Nuclear. And Soul also gonna get caught, another double kill for Fury. Samsung Galaxy looked like Prime was gonna take the lead early on, but Samsung Galaxy regrouping with that Baron sneak early on. That leads to a win, leading 1-0 in the best of 3 of the day. Oh, they're actually gonna get a kill on Sashin too. Good game by Samsung. Look at that. That's so awesome. All right, Zenix now on the blue side. And Samsung there on the red side. I was going to say the right side, which is technically correct. Now, Samsung, they last game, they focus fired Candy during their bans, put him on Xerath, and he wasn't really able to do too much with that. I mean, he traded really well in lane 1v1, no doubt, but it didn't really matter once the ganks came in and the ace grew, and the rest of Samsung was really just getting fed to overall. The Maokai ban, really solid. I mean, that's what we learned at MSI. Sure, you don't always, perhaps not every game you're going to first pick it, but at the same time, if you get the opportunity, you're going to pick it because Maokai's one of those champions where, yeah, he has a couple really strong points, but it's not like he's going to be a carry or something like that. But these days, more and more what we're finding out is at the end of the day, in any meta, if you never die as the top lane, then that's cool. And Maokai does that really well. Gragas being banned out. Kalista also possibly looking for a Rek'Sai pickup here, so the Rek'Sai going to be banned out also. Samsung says, well, if we can't get one of them, you can't get any of them either. And so after the Maokai ban, really prioritizing Gnar. I don't know how I feel about that. The Gnar wasn't terrible last game from Kakarot, but yeah, I mean, if anything, I think if you're going to prioritize something, maybe the Hecarim. Sion, I mean, no matter how good you are, I don't know if Sion is first pick priority material. If you're going to do that, why not just first pick Sivir, you know? Yeah, I mean, Kakarot's played Sion before and whatnot, but yeah, when you have first pick, okay, because Sion is not exactly the most contested pick anyway, so if you're going to play something that you can play really well but isn't the most popular, then might as well just take something, even if it's not super contention, that you can just secure, like a Sejuani or a Sivir. So Sejuani gets taken away by Zenix, so Samsung will have to dig a little deeper for a jungle pick here, and they might wait a little bit, maybe into the next round of picks for that one. QV saying, well, okay, well, Hecarim's open. Might as well try to bring the carry back from the top. then Sivir. Fury played really well on Sivir in the first match against Prime. He nods and says, yeah, I'm ready. Put me in, coach. So Sivir and Hecarim. Also on the hunt, gonna help Hecarim too, of course. Just Sivir's ultimate. I don't know who it doesn't synergize with. I mean, extra mobility just helps everyone in the game in one way or another. It's never not helpful. Like, the only time you waste the Sivir's ult, if Sivir ult is if you ult alone. And, like, when you're not exactly going anywhere emergent. Like, if you ult on your way back to lane when there's nobody there. That's, like, the only time you can really say it was a true waste of Sivir's ultimate. Otherwise, it will always help someone somewhere. Alright, well, now that Hecarim's been selected, I think the Sion is fine. Like, if you weren't going to prioritize Hecarim anyway, Sion's okay against Hecarim. Of course, Sion got a slight nerf in 5.8. But, you know, not to a point where if you're a good Sion player, it's going to completely, you know, destroy your pick. He still has all the merits that he had beforehand. And so Sion will be locked in for that top lane against Hecarim. So the top lane matchup seems to be confirmed at this point. Meanwhile, since Thresh is taken away, Wraith looking at bringing back the Alistar. He played pretty well against Prime with that. And then the Nunu also coming back for Samsung. So this is all on Fury once again in QV. Cassipian and Azir both banned out, so LeBlanc is available here for Candy to play if he wants in that mid lane. Not his favorite champions. His favorite champions among the likes of Victor, Cassiopeia, and Lissandra, so a little bit more mage-based. And looking at Ahri, though, kind of the go-to for a lot of Korean mids, along with LeBlanc for mids everywhere around the world. And Draven, wouldn't expect that. Maybe Jinx, I can see that. I mean, yeah, against a Hecarim and an Alistar, it can be dangerous, but you have the Thresh there, and then at the very least, an enemy jungler is not someone who has a gap closer and then has hard CC. I mean, sure, once you get caught by a Nunu, you can pretty much say goodbye as Jinx, but, I mean, if there are other enemies there for damage. But my point is, it's not like a Rek'Sai, it's not like Gragas who can stun you with a gap closer before you can put your traps under them. Now Kassadin being hovered over once again. Now Ace. All right. You gonna play Kassadin? I mean, Ace has talked about how confident he is on Kassadin before when he first came onto the Samsung team. All right. And hello, QV. Can you get the death sentence? Nope. The invade coming in. And they're just going to get some wards down and some vision probably. At the same time, Eve said, all right, well, if they're going to go up through the top side, I'm going to go in through the middle. And then he's like, actually, I'm here all alone, so I'm just going to back off. And I think that's smart of Zenix to also just back off after the invade. It's a Nunu, so like starting at the enemy red is not, like you're not going to get a huge advantage. Especially because Eve might start at your blue and then go to your red and then go to his blue. I mean, just Nunu, you don't want to be too crazy with the jungle Nunu, against the jungle Nunu, because he can be just as crazy on his own without teammates when it comes to camps. And looks like a lane swap coming in from Samsung. Fury was spotted by that ward, but yeah, they're just all going to be spotted. And they saw Nunu on the top side too, so we are... Oh, but we're not going to see Shaft start on his blue anyway. Zenix is going to follow suit and match that 2v2 though, because of course they want it with Jinx and Thresh. They want that 2v2 matchup. Whereas Sion is just going to be Sion. Brown being taken by Lunar and TML. Kakarot just going to finish off that camp there. And then he'll go back to lane in the bottom lane because QV also came with Smite. So Kakarot just saying, you know, I just want to even things out here. So Kakarot said, his quote is, "Live like Flame, play like Impact." Not really, I get the whole play like Impact part. You know, kind of be the Rock, right? Impact was known as the Rock of SKT. But I'm not really sure what to think of the whole live like Flame part. I mean, if you want to also shower in bottled water all the time, like, that's cool. You know, you do your thing, whatever floats your boat, right? If bottled water floats your boat, let it float. But if that's your motto for life, I don't know. I do wonder about your other priorities at the same time. Meanwhile, we saw Eve being just as annoying as any Nunu player should be. And TML going in with the Flay, but nice headbutt from Wraith. The trap's not connecting right away. The exhaust onto Fury. Death Sentence being shielded by the spell shield. Fury really waiting for the last minute to make sure that he can avoid that hard CC coming in from Thresh. Well played by the Samsung bottom duo that is now in top. Sejuani's still there because he saw Eve run through and then leave. So Shaft trying to see if he can get another angle here, but the lane's pushed up, so yeah, you might as well go back because you're going to lose so much time off of that. And QV is just like, all right, well, I'm going to shove through and then just keep jungling anyway because my jungler is in the enemy jungle. I remember the days when having double smite on a team was considered trolling no matter what. And here we are today when it's really common. Not as much anymore as it was when it was first popularized in the spring season by various regions, but still there. Eve hanging around. Did some damage to the enemy jungle, hasn't gone back home, so trying to see if he can get some advantage here. But again, for Nunu, your ganks aren't going to be the scariest part. I mean, with an Alistar or something like that, sure, you can lead it into infinite snowballs, but aside from that, you're not going to want to invest too much time in camping a lane unless you need a lot of help. Ace using his shield really well to try to trade, but he is running a little bit lower on mana. Of course, Candy changing his health pots into biscuits with Metallurgy and having that advantage with mana here in trades. Ace simply relying on his skills and his flask for the mana in lane. And as I continue to blow my nose during this tournament, nothing interesting happened. We're looking at, all right, Shaft hasn't really been able to do too much either. Had gone back home earlier, gonna go back home again to get a couple more wards. Ruby Crystal. Ace is now completely dry on mana, but Shaft is nowhere nearby, so it's not gonna matter. He still has Flash too. He's not level 6, so it's not like he lost his escape with lack of mana, but it does mean that he's not gonna trade as often anymore, but he's okay with that because he already traded more efficiently against Candy. So he's ahead in health. And now if he's the one who always chooses when to trade, then he can continue to stay ahead in health because he gets a shield every time he trades. Meanwhile, Wraith trying to zone out Lunar. The Zenix lane is pushing a little bit on top. Both mid laners are level 6. Nice damage coming in from Candy. He realizes, all right, well, Ace is kind of low on mana. I need to try to get an advantage here, but he takes some damage from the minions, and Shaft and Eve are going to run into each other, and they're both going to back off. And Fury is pretty low, but there's a headbutt back into the tower onto TML, but Fury too scared to chase through on that damage with Lunar sitting back. So both sides just kind of chill out after that trade. No one used summoners in the 2v2. Meanwhile, mid lane, both champions are even on CS, and Ace is fine with that. LeBlanc didn't get a kill, so Cassidy just doing his job. And of course, the bottom 1v1's been a similar story here. Juve a little bit ahead, but that's also because he can just jungle camps after he pushes up a lane. Juve also has the Gromp passive on him, so he can win trades too, much more easily. He has a Skirmisher's Saber too, so that helps. Looks like Candy may be looking to help out that bottom lane then. Or just getting wards on Dragon, because it is a Nunu on the other side. Good awareness from him. Candy still trying to trade. He actually gets the chain onto Ace as TML shows up, but Candy takes some damage, and TML was spotted by a ward. He also walked into lane, so he's going to back off. Ace is going to pick up his blue off of Eve. And Samsung swapping the lanes back, adding a little bit more pressure towards that bottom lane, because Hecarim has been doing just fine, got the Ninja Tabby, and this also allows Eve to have a little bit more space while he dragons. So Samsung doing this seamlessly. Of course, there is a ward there, but who's there to stop it? You do have LeBlanc coming down, but Ace is prepared to move down first. TML showing up, but no damage follow through from there. Shaft, his ult is probably the only chance. Okay, he can't try to go Lantern in. He's not going to get it. The Rocket a little bit late from Lunar. And then Eve instantly smiting that off and getting the dragon. But Shaft had the right idea. You know, you go in with the Arctic Assault, you come back out with a Lantern after you try to smite. He just couldn't get it as Eve was a little bit too quick on that one. And precise. Now, Samsung is still just really quiet. You know, I do want to mention that, so when Samsung won before, like, or when they looked like they could win certain games during the regular season, is that it was when they like really shined with their individual talent or their neat little picks like the Syndra support and things like that. But today, so yesterday, Longzhu IM like dominated their games. It was just a domination on all 4 games. Whereas Samsung today, I wouldn't say is as dominating, but at the same time, this is what I've been saying all day, is that they're showing that they have grown as a team. Wraith gets caught back a little bit, actually. He's going to get snared for the traps. The slow going to go down on him. The exhaust on Lunar is going to deny a lot of that damage alongside Alistar's ultimate. There's the Arctic Assault, though, forcing the flash out from Wraith. So they blow a lot of summoners and spells off of Wraith, and Ace, meanwhile, is going to get traded by Candy as he blinks backward. Ah, he'll still go down to the Ignite and the minion hits, though. And Candy actually had to use his flash to try to live at the very end, but still died. So Ace, I think, is okay with that trade. Sure, Candy can start snowballing that too, but here comes the Scion ultimate, and there goes the Fury. Goodbye, Fury. So they chase him off, which means they'll probably just shove in this tower. Kakarot did just show up in lane by walking down here after going home, so he's just going to teleport back up top to save his own tower. Tier 1 in the top lane. Eve taking this chance to steal the blue, though. So LeBlanc's not going to get her blue while Castanet already has his. So that's another advantage that Samsung has in the mid lane. But with the first tower going to Zenix, they will have a slight gold lead. And Candy's not going to be too happy. Candy versus Ace, the battle of the assassins. Meanwhile, Eve also smiting the wolf here to provide more vision in that enemy jungle for both Cuvée and Ace. The top side of the map. Yeah, and at this point, Ace can continue to just trade more efficiently against Candy here. He's also just building health because that's what you do. He has a shield on his Noosphere. There's just a lot. Shaft has literally nothing to farm here. I guess the Gromp's waiting there for him. Eve is about a level ahead, maybe a little bit more. Candy's already at half health. He's trying to chase through with some extra damage, but it almost feels like a little bit of a desperation from Candy, right? It's like, no, I will not accept that I've lost out on health. And Ace is like, yes, you will, because I'm going to keep bringing you down lower and lower. Candy's in a lot of danger here. I mean, sure, both Ignites are down, and that's a little comforting to know that Ace can't just completely all in you, but he is Cassidy. He can just jump in and burst you down once you get really low. Ace also has his flash, so he could dive to the tower too if that's what it takes. Meanwhile, up top has been pretty quiet. Cuvé's actually just been able to continuously farm very safely. Bottom lane's also been really quiet. Both sides just farming quietly. Both supports going for that side zone, and nothing too crazy from there. TML and Shaft both waiting here in the mid lane because Candy needs some help, but it is a Kassadin that you're trying to catch. Ace takes some extra damage this time, but Candy's still lower, and Candy's just squishier in general, you know, because he's not she's not building health, or he's not building health. I guess the player himself is male, so I can say the champion is female. And Fury showing up after Samsung lost their bottom tier 1 just to help shove it in. Candy is at half health. There's Wraith and Eve also. Kakarot coming in with a Scion ultimate, but yeah, it's not really going to connect to anything. I think it was really just to save that tier 1 because it looked like Samsung might continue pressuring that to no end. And they're going to go at it again as we see Shaft, TML, and Lunar show up from the bottom lane for Zenix. It is already at half health, but yeah, it's Sivir, not Jinx, on the side of Samsung, so they're not going to be able to clear that tower from afar. And global goal now equal for both teams, so Zenix losing out a little bit of that advantage that they had from pushing down the tier 1 at bottom. Dragon up in a minute, and Cuvee finishing his Cinderhulk up top. Kassadin, is he able to get his ROA when he goes back this time? I feel like he should be able to. As soon as he lands home. Yep, there it is. Finishes his ROA at 13 minutes. A little bit over 13 minutes, but that's just about good timing. And he'll have that combination, you know, extra stats there from that item for the next dragon fight. Will Fury have an item finish is another big question. He also doesn't have boots, while Lunar chose to get upgraded boots in the middle of his way to the Infinity's Edge. And Samsung just needs to kind of hold on to this tower, get a little bit of vision, and then go towards Dragon. Yeah, they just shoved in the bottom lane too, so Zenix is scurrying down there to try to get that XP. It is going to be Candy on that LeBlanc going in to soak it in, as you do need to defend that middle tier 1 also. Otherwise, Samsung could instantly just turn things around in mid lane and pressure Candy out of that area. So Zenix just kind of responding to Samsung's movements, and Samsung still has a bit of an advantage in terms of vision. They also just have the Nunu for this dragon. They're going to leash it first. And looks like they're going to commit to it. Hecarim already teleporting far behind us, so on the hunt coming through. And, oh, wow, Cuvee dodges the Flay just in time and then goes back in with Onslaught of Shadows. Cuvee wanted to perfect that gank. He didn't take any chances. Even if he got flayed, he still had Onslaught of Shadows. But my goodness, that reaction of just baiting out the Flay to make sure that he gets full damage from his increased movement speed. Really impressive. And Samsung will cleanly take that second dragon. Now with all 5 of them here, will they just continue pressuring mid lane? Hecarim's and Sivir's ultimate are down. Absolute Zero still there though. Sejuani also lost her ult in that last fight. Wraith can go in with his. So I don't think Zenix wants to commit too hard into trying to harass here in this mid lane. It could get dangerous. And so, yeah, they're just going to back off. Zenix not looking for a fight that could lead into a dive or anything crazy like that. Kassadin, of course, doesn't have flash anymore, but can jump in and out as long as he's not super targeted. He's going to just hop away from that death sentence. And so Zenix is just trying to bank on the fact that Samsung doesn't have a couple of their ultimates, but yeah, you're not going to really turn that into any fruition. So they're going to disperse back into their lanes where they can just at least gather up on experience and try to tie up on that. Kakarot right now down 1 level. A couple other levels behind here and there too on the side of Zenix. So they really want to try to stay on top of that and stay on par in terms of experience in this game. And Fury, he should be able to finish his Infinity's Edge once he goes home this time around. I'm sure he already has enough gold for it. Lunar finished hers or his. I don't know why I suddenly get confused about whether to call the pronouns for the champions or the players, but that's where I am after being halfway done with today's solo cast. Cuvee gonna go home. One item. Oh, I guess he'll just finish his phage probably. Frozen Heart finished by Kakarot, but that means Ace can still do a lot of damage to him. I mean, sure, he has a lot of health, but oh, Cuvee has nowhere near the gold, I guess, to finish the phage, so I was overestimating his gold digging powers. And LeBlanc is not too relevant right now. Yeah, I mean, oh, nice spell shield too. again, it's like in any case where you pick LeBlanc, and I think, so, I don't know, I felt the same way at MSI Finals where I understand why Faker picked LeBlanc. Oh, wow, Candy gets shut down by Wraith. Wraith was so ready for that. And Candy trying to fake them out. He eventually flashes away. Shaft trying to zone out for him, and Candy will eventually live. But Wraith with some quick reactions. Eve gets caught by the death sentence. Not going to connect to the choppers from Jinx. But Samsung is going to shove Candy out of lane. Can they try to push through? No, Lunar on Jinx is going to make sure that doesn't happen. But Wraith really quick on that. And what I was seeing was at the MSI, oh wow, the flash forward, they try to get Fury. He dodges all the ultimates, all the skill shots. Fury, I mean, if he got caught by Sejuani's ult, he would have guaranteed also been caught by Jinx's ult, and he would have died. But man, also by the death sentence too. So nice dodges by Fury. Now let me get back to what I was saying. So at the MSI Finals, Faker picking LeBlanc, I can think of many reasons that aren't strictly strategic for him to pick that, and I can agree with that from SKT's perspective. Of course, EDG came in with a very specific composition prepared for Faker's LeBlanc and just to shut it down. That's a bit of a niche case, but in general, there's a reason why Faker was not that popular in the current meta, and it's because when you have so many bruisers or bruiser types running around, and Sivir is popular as an AD carry, it's so hard for LeBlanc to just shine as a hyper carry. Back in the day, when you think about all the highlights of Faker just like hard carrying when he first showed us his LeBlanc and other players too, it's when things like support Zyra were popular in the meta, where at bare minimum, you knew you could just stomp all over the enemy support, at bare minimum. And then usually also the opponent's mid laner, and maybe their jungler and or AD carry. I mean, you can always try to stomp their AD carry, but that depends on the team comp in general. So these days, you don't see that, right? Every jungler is building very tank heavy. Every top laner is building very tank heavy. We're seeing mid laners who, well, first of all, mid laners eventually will build Zonias at one point or another. And we're seeing them either have a lot of a range advantage or build a little bit of defense, like we're seeing with Cassidy with the Rod of Ages. We're seeing Sivir with the Spell Shield. It basically, when can you guarantee, like you can't guarantee that during the pick ban phase that you will find a target on the enemy team. And if you can't feed yourself off of one person continuously, then the game gets a little bit too complicated for it to be worth it to play LeBlanc in the current meta, in my opinion. So that's why I can still understand if you like wait and then you last pick LeBlanc, depending on how the picks went through, or if you have, I mean, so I guess you have Jinx as a different hyper carry, so there's that merit for Xenix's picks and bans. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, it's not first pick material in my opinion, in any case. Even SKT generally, even with Faker, even when, you know, they were winning with 13-0 record for Faker, they oftentimes wouldn't just like first pick it blindly. Well, not always, let's put it that way. So I can understand that maybe as a mid laner you're super confident, but I don't really agree with that being a first pick material for any player and or team. Especially when you're seen as the one challenging upwards here against Samsung. And so the next dragon is up. Xenix doesn't want to give this one up. They want to try to catch up here. Fury is going to not get hit, let alone also have a spell shield there. So the other thing that LeBlanc can do then, if you can't kill them, at least bring someone down below half health so that they have to go home, right? That's how you used to play LeBlanc in the other metas too, is that if you couldn't kill the support, bring someone down to half health. And that's why things like LeBlanc, Caitlyn were really good combos, because then Caitlyn could finish them off with Ace in the hole. Here comes the teleport. Nice double knockup by Wraith. He sends one back. Shaft gets caught by the Absolute Zero. He's slowed. Fury continuing to chase. Here comes QV on Son of Shadows. Lunar flashes out. Candy is just going to be ignored as QV comes back to help secure the kill, because here comes Kakarot and helps pick off Fury from behind. Ace was zoned out for half health. There's the ultimate from Jinx. Not going to do too much damage. QV basically trying to zone out Sion for his teammates as Candy and Lunar try to show up for cleanup, but Lunar also needs to watch out. Candy a little bit low on mana, flashes forward, but the chain not going to connect, and he's also going to dodge Ace with his distortion backwards. I was focusing a little bit too much on QV and didn't catch exactly what happened to Fury, but it looks like Kakarot and Shaft basically just cornered him in and picked him off along with Candy, I think. No, Candy, that's the kill he had earlier in that mid lane trade. So yeah, it was just Shaft and Kakarot getting that kill. And now the dragon is still up, so both sides could try to fight for it, but considering Nunu's here first and Nunu's on the side of Samsung, I'm going to give credit to Samsung here for most likely taking this dragon. Sivir is also already here, ward down across the wall. They should be able to do it decently quickly, yeah. Shaft can still go for a Lantern steal if he wants, but it doesn't look like they want to commit to that too much. It's too risky, because if he gets caught here, it definitely leads into a tier 1. So they try to say, all right, let's take our own tower here against Samsung in mid, but QV holding the fort pretty well in mid lane, waiting for his teammates to show up. Meanwhile, Candy trying to burst down Eve, but not going to happen. But they catch QV with a death sentence. A nice double knockup coming in from Sion. Candy still at decent health. Eve gets hit by the Super Mega Death Rocket on Lunar, and Zenix will be able to transition that into a tower here in mid lane, bringing the game still to a pretty close call here. Samsung does have the great advantage of 3 Dragon stacks against Zenix, but Zenix, with a nice death sentence onto QV, was able to secure a tower for themselves and even the tower score out, bring the gold gap a little bit closer than it was before. And Lunar, he didn't get the kill this time, but he has no deaths either, and he's either starting to just slur all my words here, and he is farming a lot, and they're sending him to farm all the leftover CS here and there. So I do think that Samsung does have to watch out. I mean, Jinx is wow, excuse me. Jinx is one of those champions that if they're left alive, like, they will carry the game late game. It's like the old Tristana. It's like a hyper version of Tristana. And so now that we're on, not on break, but we have a little bit of a pause in action. I don't know about anyone else, but having lived with allergies my whole life, so many times have I thought that it would be so great if I could just, like, pull off my nose, kind of like Mr. Potato Head. It's like, pull it off, clean your nose under a faucet, and plug it back in. That'd be so great. But obviously I can't do that. It's pretty sad. Also, then other people would pull off my nose and hide it like they do with Mr. Potato Head, and that'd be really mean. So I guess I'm pretty thankful. I'll choose the lesser of the evils here. Jinx at 9,200 gold, 001. 1,000 gold ahead of Fury, and in general, just more carry potential between the champions of Jinx and Sivir. Is going to finish that last Whisper sometime soon. Hey, so here's another note. Not only are they're only ahead by about, what, a little less than 1,000 gold, but the reason you can see that Samsung has more experience playing the bigger picture here is that all of their trinkets are upgraded. Every single one of them. You got extra wards coming in from Fury, Ace, and QV. Then you have Eve and Wraith with the upgraded lens, the Oracle lens. And basically they understand that that small advantage for 250 gold provides so much extra vision control in the game that they can really set the pace starting 20 minutes. I think that makes a big difference in how teams play, and I think that's a really good indicator of how you see the game. I mean, yeah, if you're playing catch-up, when you upgrade that is a much trickier question, but at this point in time, when you're only about, when the towers are fairly similar too, sure, Samsung has the dragons, but the point is the gold is similar too. And Zenix could have had all the chances they wanted to upgrade their trinkets too. It's only 250 gold. Only Kakarot, actually, though. Oh, no. Okay, we also have TML, who has it upgraded. I was going to say, if no one upgraded their lens, that'd be pretty dangerous. But we do have at least TML with that. Lunar going for the sweeper, too. Or not the sweeper, the scrying orb, rather. All of them technically sweep, so. And Candy's still a bit of a low impact LeBlanc, as I discussed earlier. I'm not sure if it'll really change, but again, You don't have to get the kills to really be impactful at some point, especially when you have a Jinx. If you bring someone down pretty low, that Lunar can start getting excited with his passive, then that's all you need. Shaft trying to secure vision around that Baron. Again, when there's a Nunu, you just always have to be super scared of all your jungle objectives. And you also want to clear out all the wards because Cuvée has been charging in with Home Guard off his teleports pretty efficiently for Samsung. The next dragon up in a minute. All right, if this one goes to Samsung, it's like regardless of gold advantage, once you get to 4, it's not even the buff you get, it's the fact that the next one gives 5, right? That's the biggest threat, is that Samsung can basically threaten to suddenly snowball the lead so hard with 1 extra dragon. I mean, yeah, the 4th buff is really good too, and in general, all the buffs, once they add on to each other, it means a lot. But when it gets to 4, it's because the next dragon suddenly jumps up like 3-fold in terms of, or 10-fold even, in terms of importance and priority and defending it, that it suddenly makes the team who's losing on Dragon Stacks look a little desperate, because it's like, well, we need to block this. Like, we can't simply let it go. You can't, and that gives Samsung the power to force trades in objectives. So this is why starting at 3, you almost want to treat it as the same situation, because otherwise you won't even have a choice in treating it that way. It will just be a fact that you can't give up the next dragon. So Zenix wants to pressure this, but at the same time, then Samsung with Nunu could quickly just get rid of Baron. So good for Zenix for securing vision around Baron too before they came down here. And now they're all grouping down here. Sion walking down, although he does have teleport. If he can set up a good ultimate, it could change things here. Ace does have quite a bit in his arsenal though. Not too much damage against Shaft, but that'll be different against Lunar. Here comes Hecarim from behind the Dragon Pit, and there's on the hunt. Ace jumps in, there's Zonius. 3-man knockup as Cuvée just goes in and zones out Lunar. Lunar gets killed by Ace as Shaft tries to go zone him out. Ace is caught by the Death Sentence, but he blinks out. The knockup not happening from Sion. Eventually gets killed by Candy, but Candy's super low as he gets finished off by Eve. Wraith and Cuvée still wreaking havoc as Fury throws all the boomerangs in his arsenal to help clean up the fight. 4-1 advantage for Samsung in that team fight. And what will Samsung choose to do? The Dragon's still there, but looks like they're going to just go for that Baron. And Fury says, come on, big guy. I mean, uh-oh, Kakarot, where are you going? I guess, okay, he's going to try to do a super play here. And he's just going to get headbutted back out. There's the snowball. I mean, he doesn't have a smite. So all you got to make sure to do is make sure that Fury doesn't get hit too much. You can't all stand behind Baron. That was really dangerous, because if you all stand behind Baron, it's pretty dangerous. Oh, there's a super mega death rocket. And Fury, is he going to die? There's the knockback. There's the snowball. Kakarot still gets the kill. This guy is so tanky. Wow. This guy. I don't know. It like shouldn't have been that exciting. But he got something done, so props to Kakarot. He's really tanky right now. And that means Zenix will be able to secure the dragon to deny. Oh, never mind. Ace actually got bursted down to half health, but there's Cuvée. Goes in with Onslaught of Shadows. Lunar, is Lunar gonna die? Dragon is also running really low. Sejuani does secure the dragon, but Lunar dies. So does TML. And Shaft now caught in the Dragon Pit. He's going to try to charge forward, but they're blocking the way. Eventually finds an opening, but Ace will follow through. Oh, Candy gets headbutted back. Good play by Wraith. There's a knockup onto Candy. Kakarot still there at so much health, but Ace coming back forward. The Ace is pretty low, and so is Cuvée. I don't know if they can continue this. Nice absolute zero, and he's going to stop that. Candy going to jump in and stop that, and they have to run away because Kakarot still has so much health. Holy goodness, this Sion. Considering how this game has been going, Kakarot has so much impact, probably much more than you would expect him to. So let's look at this. Oh, this was the earlier fight, it looks like, yeah, where Lunar, look at this, Absolute and everything, but Lunar just gets zoned out by Cuvée and he gets bursted down with the full home guard damage. Meanwhile, on the right side, Candy does go back in, gets the kill, but then he's gonna get zoned out. It blinks back in, flashes away from Eve, but can't control both his clone and himself at the same time to try to trick Eve. And eventually Samsung cleans up that team fight that led to the Baron, which also led to Fury's death in the Baron Pit by Kakarot. Samsung is a team, not as a Tim. And let alone we don't have a Tim, we have a Tom on SKT. But Samsung is leading about 5k gold now. 3 dragons, and some of them still have the Baron buff. Cubase showing up, but yeah, like you can't charge into Kakarot at this point. And Kakarot has a Banshee's Veil, 4 Ace, and then has a Frozen Heart and a Sunfire. So it's going to be a little while before Samsung can really deal with this Ion. I mean, last time, I guess if they didn't go for Baron, they could have killed Kakarot, but then Kakarot would have probably just tried to run away. And you wouldn't have gotten Baron, so... At the same time, Samsung isn't going to be able to cleanly finish this game yet until they can guarantee that they can deal with the Scion. On the flip side, Luden's Echo now out for Candy on top of his first 2 core items. Still no death cap, though. So... what we're seeing with a lot of LeBlancs now is that you are really just focusing a lot on that wave clear and just bringing people low, like going somewhat poke. But against things like Alistar, we saw earlier, it can be pretty dangerous. Wraith has really good reaction speed right now, and Candy can get caught out. So, so it can only work. So I can still understand the theory behind it. Since you were picking Jinx, you have a different hard carry to help there, so you can be kind of the sub carry that just lays it out for your AD to pick up all the kills. We haven't really seen that happen yet, though. Only 5 kills total in a 35-minute game for Xenix. And Cuvée taking relatively a lot more damage, simply because Kakarot's not taking any. And so the pony will run away. And Samsung, yeah, continuing to try to get that vision advantage as they push through. They want to pressure all these tier 2s at once, going for the 1-3-1, but not going to be as effective because Kakarot's going to hold his own really well. LeBlanc with the Luden's Echo will be able to clear waves even more efficiently on top of Distortion. And they've defended all the tier 2s. Baron buff is down for all members of Samsung now. And Ace actually getting caught takes a lot of damage. Kassadin can only trade favorably when he has vision, and he can Q at the same time, so well done by Candy. Now, if Samsung gets the next dragon, though, again, it's the same situation as it was before, so Xenix still has to play as if this dragon means everything to them, or at the very least, they need to get like 2 objectives if they're going to trade it for free over to Samsung. So it's some tough choices and some tough planning coming in for Xenix. Meanwhile, Cuvée still wants to try to do something to Kakarot Scion, but you simply can't. He has another Chain Vest. I mean, this guy just won't take damage. He refuses to. He also has 301 CS, and a lot of that helping add health to his health pool, so. Candy going with another Blasting Wand. Most likely a Death Cap. Could be a Void Step, but probably a Death Cap on top of that Abyssal Scepter. So Candy really just going for a lot more AoE, poke damage, wave clear here on that LeBlanc. And then trying to set things up for Lunar, but the Jinx who started 0-0-1 is now 0-2 and 3 and was forced to build a Quicksilver before finishing off her 4th damage item. So that slows down Jinx's damage a little bit, while Fury was able to catch up in terms of core damage items and it equals out at that BF sword after 3. Candy trying to burst down. Whoa, that is a lot of burst, but so did that Boomerang Blade. It only hit one way. Candy needs to go back home. Candy didn't start at full health, just in case you were wondering. Just in case you can only hear the audio. LeBlanc didn't start at full health. It's not like Boomerang Blade did 60% damage with only one-way hit, but it does hurt a lot once you gather up on that AD. Xenix is still going to play a little bit of a reactionary League of Legends here. And this next dragon is going to be where a lot of things are decided. If Xenix can win this team fight and get their second dragon, that's actually just a lot of hope and a good window of opportunity for Zenix to continue getting the lead and continue getting their vision back. Baron is also up in 20 seconds, so whoever gets this Dragon will most likely also get the Baron. And so we're going to see Kakarot just teleporting in early, trying to get the knockup onto Wraith. Wraith is caught out. There's a Destinus, but they don't want to waste too much time as QV comes in. There's the Absolute Zero. Fury trying to kite from the outside. Onslaught of Shadows over the wall. They're trying to get down onto Lunar. Lunar is still alive, but eventually Lunar goes down. And here comes the monster Kakarot, trying to survive as long as possible, but where's the damage for? Zenix nowhere to be seen, as Shaft, Kakarot, and TML the only ones alive. It doesn't matter if Kakarot can live forever, because no one's going to do damage for him on his team, and now he can't live forever when 4 people are on him with no one to help him out. QV going to just push him into the wall, get the kill for Fury, and body blocking for Fury, knocking him back. And well done by Samsung. I mean, the thing here is that QV, for one, has an easier time sticking to Lunar, and Fury started the fight in a better position, way away from Kakarot, and they're also doing double objectives, both Baron and Dragon at the same time, and Samsung should be able to, from here on out, just close out the game. That's 8K lead in terms of gold. They have 4 stacks of Dragon. They have the Baron buff. At this rate, they will most likely get 5 Dragons and then just end the game while they have that buff, and just go over to the inhibitors while they have Baron. So watch this fight. They focus a little bit too much, like, hey, we caught Wraith out, and here comes Eve. He gets onto Lunar. Lunar has to flash over, so then we see Onslaught of Shadows over the wall. Lunar gets zoned out, and where is Fury? Fury's been free to do just damage and kite around. It actually doesn't even matter if he can do damage the whole time, as long as he lives longer than Lunar. He flashes away, still gets frozen by the Glacial Prison, but he still had his front line in front of him. So Fury basically takes safer positioning the whole time. And it's also easier for him to do so with things like Spell Shield, the extra movement speed on the Hunt, and QV having Onslaught of Shadows to catch up to Lunar. So while it's all cool and great for LeBlanc to try to set up kills for Lunar alongside his teammates, it's, you know, it only works if Jinx can live long enough, and there's a Hecarim on the other side along with an Alistair and a Nunu. I don't know how you're going to try to get away from that. Using On the Hunt to just quickly push forward while there's no one defending the tower, to sneak it in, because your minion wave isn't that big. Smart idea from Fury and the team of Samsung, as they get 1 tier 2, and now they can snowball that into a second and maybe a third. Candy goes really low. So does Ace. Candy a little bit lower, but they basically traded as he dove and then secured the tower for Samsung. Here in the mid lane, bottom lane going to take some time before they can push it in, because there's a huge minion wave pushing out on the side of Zenix. But Samsung now over 10K gold lead, not over, but 10 kills ahead exactly, and 4 stacks of Dragon. It's just a matter of time before they get 5 and finish the game here against Zenix, which would mean Samsung secures their spot in Champions Summer this year. So this means a lot, so they're probably just going to play it patiently and secure that spot. And after today, I don't expect to see first pick LeBlancs anymore often, until, you know, balance changes come through. Just even under, like, I'm trying to force myself to understand why they would have done this, like the whole, okay, well, she's going for, you know, she can adapt into this AoE build, she can push, she can split push with that Luden's Echo and distortions, she can try to poke and just, you know, split the damage among everyone so that Jinx can just go off with the Super Mega Death Rocket and then her passive to clean up the fight. That's all cool, but that means right now you're not a high threat to the enemy CC, which means all the CC jumps onto Lunar. It just isn't really working out too well, especially against the champions that Samsung picked. So I'm still a little skeptical. But who knows, maybe they'll have some crazy play that lets them come back and win this game. They need about 5 of those to win the game, but you can never give up in League of Legends. I mean, who knows? Maybe Fury has to go eat dinner. Oh, wow, a nice trade, but Ace goes forward. And a battle of pride for the mid laners. Lunar is doing some good damage from the outside, but against who? Just Eve. Meanwhile, Fury gets drawn back in after exhaust. There's a Glacial Prison. Fury gets eliminated by Kakarot. Now it's Lunar's time to shine. He's chasing through. QV needs to be slow so that Lunar can catch up. He does get flayed back, and there's another kill for Lunar. Actually, it's going to go over to Shaft with the shutdown gold. But with Ace gone, they could, it's the flip side, right? Zenix can now focus all of their efforts onto Fury. It works out in a very similar way, except that Ace just generally has more impact than Candy overall. And now Zenix trying to push through since they have their AD carry. And it is Jinx, so they should be able to take this really quickly. Shaft just tanking that tower so that their minions can continue to push through and catch up. There they are. Can they go over for the inhibitor turret too? Ace is up in 5. They need to take it very quickly, and Jinx does exactly that. Can they take the turret? Probably not. The inhibitor itself. Eve going really low. He gets knocked up. More damage coming in for Lunar, but here comes Ace trying to chase Lunar away, but Kakarot will help finish that off. Gives the kill to Lunar. Lunar's passive now activated. There's the death sentence falling all the way through on Ace. Ace is still able to blink out. Pretty low cooldown on that ultimate. He's still coming through, but a lot of damage from Lunar. He's still at health. Pretty healthy state. Here comes Candy from the side. Ace needs to watch out. He dies to the ult. Distortion. Fury gets knocked up after using the Mikhails, and Fury's gonna get caught from the spell shield. Still living. Double kill for Fury. Kakarot gets blocked back. Fury's still alive. QV trying to come in and save Fury. Fury lives. Kakarot now being chased out by QV. What a save by Hecarim and Alistar. And Shaft still, that smite does not do damage. Just a debuff. And so the kill goes to an execution, but Kakarot can't do anything. Fury the hero, along with QV. And, ran into the wall there. Kakarot gonna be slowed down a little bit by QV, but this is basically a battle of the giants, and it's not really gonna go anywhere. That must be so annoying for Kakarot. I mean, it's like, you're not really hurting me, but you're just... Meanwhile, Fury. Yeah, QV's like, I know. Whatever. Fury gonna take the inhibitor for Samsung. What a team fight. I mean, good flank by Candy, but I think Fury also just correctly targeted Candy as soon as LeBlanc showed up in front of Sivir and then picked up that kill. And if Samsung gets this dragon, which they will be at 5 stacks, and then Baron will be up in 45. Samsung might just show up with 5 stacks of dragon and a Baron buff to finish off the game. No issues, no questions asked. And so Zenix now trying to set up around Baron themselves first. And top lane being shoved in. Zenix needs to either take Baron or like ace Samsung before. Candy gets spotted, so they know at least LeBlanc is there. Samsung looks really scary. They're gonna ward over the wall. It's a very tense moment. Because, yeah, I mean, there's a 10k gold difference, but if Lunar stays alive, longer than Fury, Zenix could turn the team fight around. QV gets caught, not the target they want. That's the other thing, though, is that most of the targets you're not too eager to jump all in as a team from Zenix once a death sentence goes on. It's like Nunu, pretty tanky. Hecarim, pretty tanky. Kassadin has his Onias. Alistar has his ultimate. It's like you don't want to all in. And Samsung now, they just swapped positions. I mean, Zenix gave up all the advantage they had in terms of positioning and vision here at Baron. There's a teleport coming in from Kakarot in the pit, and they're going to try to just keep Zenix at bay. Candy is already really low. Fury goes ahead and gets a double kill. Fury just going at it in his team fight as he charged forward. Ace blinks forward to finish off Candy in this game. And Zenix just running away towards Samsung's base. And Wraith's just going to stick next to Kakarot to make sure he can't port back home. And Kakarot's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. Wraith's like, I respect that. I can respect your dance. And accepting that Samsung will finish this game. Samsung will win 2-0, having a 4-0 game record today. And securing their spot in Champion Summer 2015. Congratulations to Samsung. Welcome back to Champions.